The Beast Within, this movie just came out this week in theaters. It's a horror werewolf movie, or is it a horror werewolf movie? At least that's what I thought before going into this movie, but I have to tell you guys, false advertisement. The Beast Within follows a 10-year-old girl as she starts to question her atypical life in her family's fortified compound in rural England, ultimately discovering that once a month her father turns into a monster. The film stars Kit Harington, Ashleigh Cummings, James Cosmo, and Caoilinn Springall, and was directed by Alexander J. Farrell, and I've never seen any of his previous works. The Beast Within. Now, I heard of this movie because I watched another YouTuber's reaction of this actual trailer. I never saw a trailer for this in theaters whatsoever, but I do have to give a shout out to Best Friends, the sequel. I will link his channel down below. He does trailer reactions and movie reviews on his channel as well, and does some shows as well. So definitely check out his channel. So that's how I discovered this movie even existed, because even going to the theater every single week, I never saw a trailer actually play, despite the fact that I watch a lot of small films actually in theaters. So with no marketing for this film, I can imagine that not many people really know about this film. Now, I'll start off by saying Kit Harington is what really drew me to this film. I know that he has done Game of Thrones, which I've never seen a single episode of that series, but I have watched him in a few movies, and it's been a while since I've actually seen him in any type of movie. So I was very interested to go check this movie out. The fact that it's a werewolf movie, it really drew me in, and it's a horror movie, so any horror movie I'll go ahead and support in theaters. So going into this movie, really not knowing too much other than the small little trailer that I did check out with Kit Harington, I didn't really expect too much, though I did see that there was a very bad score for it on Rotten Tomatoes, and the audience score was absolutely dreadful for this movie. So I went into this movie and thinking, okay, this is going to have some good werewolf action, some blood, guts, gore, that type of thing. And I'll start off by saying that that's not what this movie actually is, but let me start with the positives of this film. So you have a girl named Willow. She actually played in the stop motion movie, which was the Shudder film that came out earlier this year that I really did like, and I didn't know that till after I watched the film, but she was pretty good in this. Now, she is really just kind of seeing how her family really plays out. This is a lot about abuse between a mother and father here, specifically the father sharing abuse towards the mother. And it's very much an observation piece. We see her really doing a lot of dreams. We see her really observing different things that they're doing on this compound, which the cinematography is done really well. There are scenes where I'm not really sure exactly where they filmed this. It honestly looks like they filmed it in Ireland. I know that it actually takes place in England for the sake of the plot, but I think it was filmed in Ireland. I could be wrong. If someone would want to correct me on that. You have some good drone shots. I did like the bonding scenes between her mother when she's actually learning how to drive out in the countryside. That was really cool. And then there's another scene where she's bonding with her father. They're chopping wood. They're talking about the family a little bit and some of the background of the family. That was really cool. All that cinematography there is done very well. As the film really chugs along, we see Kit Harington's character where he, once a month, actually turns into a werewolf, and about 40 minutes in we start to experience that scene, and he's about to change into the werewolf, and you're like, all right, this is going to be really cool, and they fake us out and they actually don't finish the scene. And the problem is, I was thinking this was going to be mainly a werewolf film in which there's going to be a bunch of attacks, there's going to be a little bit more people involved, but there's not. This is just 4 people in the entire cast, a mother, a father, a daughter, and then you have a grandfather as well. And the problem is, with the werewolf aspect, we don't see the werewolf on screen until about 80 minutes into the film, which is such a weak point because you're thinking to yourself, okay, this is going to be a werewolf film. There's going to be a lot of blood, guts, gore. The kills in here, they're kind of disappointing. The lighting in here, I will say at times, is absolutely way too dark. There are times in here they're trying to be clever and they're trying to, make it more so like an 80s style with a lot of grain, which maybe some of the 80s, people that were born back then or they really enjoy 80s movies, maybe they'll really like that grain. But for the sake of this movie, having the grain on top of the fact that the lighting is really dark, I think it was not a wise choice whatsoever. There is a lack of budget there. Definitely with the design of the werewolf here, the fact that most of the time we don't see him on screen. About 70 minutes in, we do see like a shadow of him, and because of the lighting being so dark, you really can't make him out. And then about 80 minutes, you really get to finally see the werewolf itself, in which it really solves itself rather quickly. Now, the pacing of this film is obviously not very good, and all I can really say is that if you're looking for a werewolf movie, this is definitely not the movie to go check out. If you're looking for something that's really artsy and really going inside the mind of a little girl through an abuse story and just like her wild imagination, because she has different little dreams that she has in here, but she also has this house that kind of reminded me of Hereditary. It's like a model house where she's depicting different scenes in which she's seen her father, like when he's chained up in these chains around his neck. She reenacts that with this model house she has. And while those scenes are kind of interesting, the film itself is just a bore to get through. There's not really much action in the film. Obviously, there's not really much horror whatsoever. I can't believe they really consider this a horror movie. This is more so like a really slow burn psychological movie with like very little suspense, very little tension, not really a lot to really keep you invested in the film. And that's the biggest problem with this film for me, is I felt like it was going really artsy for the sake of being artsy, but at the same time I did feel like towards the end there is obviously like a metaphor that really goes along with this artsiness, which I understood, but at the same time it kind of makes it feel very much underwhelming. With all that in mind, I would give a score of this film a 1 out of 5. Just nothing that really is something you should really go out and check out. If you do want to watch it, I would say watch it on streaming or watch it for the cheapest price possible. I would not pay a full price ticket to go check this out in a theater. It's just very uneventful, and it takes that more serious approach in which I just don't think it works out in the end. And it's just disguised more so as a family drama rather than being a horror film. No blood, guts, or gore, and nothing really spectacular with the kills whatsoever. Very disappointing overall, but then again, I didn't really have expectations going in, so I'm not that disappointed with it. So especially with the fact that it's a smaller studio anyway. But I think overall, with the fact of this being a werewolf movie and the lighting and everything just being poor like it is, I just think the budget wasn't there ultimately. So let me know what you guys thought about The Beast Within. Did you guys like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? And if you haven't checked it out, are you going to check it out in a theater, or are you going to skip it altogether? Leave any and all comments down below. And if you've seen Game of Thrones before with Kit Harington, is he good in it? I've never seen it, so I would like to know if he's good in it. Thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys next time.